YouTube. Danny Staten here on the Daddy Dan blog, and I'm back with another comic book review. That's true. I'm taking a look at 1958's number 32, Menace the Menace. I hadn't planned to do Menace the Menace this week, but something came up. The sadly untimely passing of Jay North. Does anybody remember who Jay North is? You know, he was the original Dennis the Menace in the TV series.
This morning, Dennis the Menace fans remembering Jay North.
There goes the best mom in the whole world.
The actor bringing to life the mischievous but lovable character Dennis Mitchell, whose endless curiosity often got him in trouble.
Come here, Joey. You kneel here while I fix the sleigh.
His friend, producer Lori Jacobson, saying North passed peacefully at home after fighting cancer for a number of years. The sitcom was a hit in the 60s, but years later, North said behind the scenes his experience was far from ideal.
I thought Dennis the Menace was a piece of garbage. I wouldn't watch the show for anything in the world.
In a 1991 interview, he claimed he had suffered verbal and physical abuse by his aunt, who was his studio guardian.
I would come off the set and everybody would say, "Hey, you did a great job," and then I would get a slap across the face, or taken into the dressing room and get a spanking or verbal tongue lashing.
After Dennis the Menace was canceled, he went on to star in movies, but through his 20s, he said he felt typecast and struggled to get roles. In the 70s, he found work as a voice actor for animated series.
Arabian Night, over the side!
After stepping out of the spotlight, North joined the military, worked in the health food industry, and later as a corrections officer. Despite his difficult journey in Hollywood, he expressed his appreciation for Dennis the Menace fans, saying in 2017, "I get a very warm feeling that I still have fans from all over the world. It makes me feel good inside that people still love us and remember us." Jay North was 73 years old.
So, with the untimely passing of Jay North, the original Dennis the Menace, I whipped out a 1958 comic book that was actually based on that show and that character, so this ought to be really cool. And I never was a Dennis the Menace fan, so I kind of feel about Dennis the Menace the way the guy who played him did. I suppose it could be worse. At least I'm taking a look at a Dennis the Menace comic book and not sitting through one of the god-awful Dennis the Menace remake movies. I'm not going to throw a Dennis the Menace trailer in here for them horrible movies because they do not pertain to this old comic book. Let's just bust it open and get started and see if we can get this black and white nightmare over. Maybe. And inside the front cover, we get the black and white nightmare of Dennis the Menace one-liners. Oh, Mr. Wilson's really gonna sue us now. I can't tell how they look on you, Dennis. That's why I wear them. Ah, my glasses joke. Hey, oh, what's this one? This is the cookhouse, and that's my cook. Oh, good gravy. We get the funny little one-liners in black and white to open this comic book from 1958. That was a great birthday party. I wonder who she is. Oh, my God. So our first Dennis the Menace story takes place in Humboldt, California. What? No, it's the half-pint hombre. Little Dennis the Menace with his little Dennis the Menace booty hanging out. He's rolling around watching some cowboy shows. He's probably watching Red Ryder. And in full, long, drug-out, disappointing panels brought to you by the Daddy Dan blog, we get Dennis the freaking Menace. Yep, Dennis, you need to go to bed. It's getting late. Can't be watching them westerns all night long. But Dennis the Menace, he gonna have a dream. He gonna have a dream where he goes back. He goes back and fights the hombres, the bad guys, and the outlaws of the old West. Here's the story of Dennis the Menace. Ha! He hauled a rough and readiest hombre in the old West. You can't mess with the man they call Dennis the Menace. And if you want it for bank robbery, and there's a $500 reward out for you, somebody is gonna think about collecting it. Now, God, I want to cry. Yep, the bad guys is plotting to rob the bank for that $50,000 they hear's in it, but nobody looks down at the little sneaky Dennis the Menace going, "They're robbers," as he runs out the door over to the bank, talk to old Mr. Mooney. He gonna tell Mr. Mooney he got some bad guys planning to rob the bank, but he don't believe him, and it's too late. Here they come. Oh my God, I'm not liking Dennis the Menace. I really isn't. The doors of the bank bust open. Don't anybody move as the rough and rugged bad guys roll on in. Don't move, lady. You won't get hurt. That's mighty nice of you. But the lady is an old lady after all. She must be from California, as she beats the bank robber silly with a purse with a brick in it. Steadily, the lead bad guy whoops out his gun and puts the freeze on everybody. Turns out he's the undercover Barney Fife, working for a sheriff named Andy in a small western town. And, he's gonna marry the little lady from the bank because he's the hero. Wake up, Dennis! Wake up! Dennis wakes up, and now he has cowboys on the mind. He just don't want nobody to go to the bank without him. Oh, the excitement. The excitement battles through as Dennis has one of the quickest breakfasts in the history of comic books. Chop, 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 chop. And with that excitement of Dennis eating a bowl of cereal, we have to have the puzzle page. That's right, from Brain Bender's Banners over there. We get a puzzle page for some little jackwagon. Oh, it's wrote in my comic book. No, the humanity, the agony, the pain. You're not supposed to write in the comic book. I can't stand it when people deface the comic books by writing in them. By the way, that was the end. I guess they're going off to the bank in that little dreamscape fart piece of crap story. Oh my goodness, look what's next. We get full pages, full panels, full page panels. Good gravy brought to you by the Daddy Damn Blog as we take a look at Joey. Joey, this little South Park reject. This is gonna be torture. Hell, Joey lives in Colorado. He's gonna go out on a cold Colorado morning. He's gonna talk to his goofy friends. He's gonna walk on the sidewalk, play some football, build a snowman, and complain about the cold. And full panels brought to you by the Daddy Damn Blog. We get down with Joey and his friends. Yes, Joey and his friends are young. Joey and his friends are having adventures. Joey and his friends seem to be somewhat South Park rejects. Oh, God, that story was so bad, even the comic book abandoned it. And we get a 2-page layout for poem pages where we could read the story of a bug's life. If you want to pause it and read the incredibly cool poem about bugs and barbers, you feel free to do that. I bet my flock Sarah pauses it, reads it, writes it down, and turns it into a damn AI song and puts it on YouTube right there, buddy. Here's one called Dancing. I was like, dancing in the streets. Oh, good God. I'm not a big fan of comic book poetry. Maybe I'll get Tug to do a comic book poetry reading. Now I really want to pluck my eyeballs out. So in more full panels brought to you by the Daddy Damn Blog, this comic book nightmare rolls on with a puppet tail. They have no arms, they have no hands, and you get to see what they would look like if Dennis the Menace and gang were puppets. And I have no doubt that this little puppety thing they're doing right here is the biggest waste of space in a comic book I have ever encountered. I will not read it. I will not acknowledge it. And I do not enjoy it. The only part I like about it is it's the end, and it was only 3 pages of crap to fill in more crap. Yeah, I'm starting to see why Jay North said what he did about Dennis the Menace as I sat through this comic book. Now's a good time to do a few shout-outs, I guess. Be sure to join me next week when I do something totally bizarre and stupid. Be sure to check out my real good friend Dave Sunstorm and his incredible brother Steven Sunstorm here on YouTube. The Good Stuff Brothers, as well as Pat McCormack, the Golden Rage of TV with all his incredible interviews and really great videos. Be sure to check out my partner in crime, Thrash Pondo Pines. You can find him on YouTube too, and you can see us every other Sunday when Thrash and Dan save the world, as well as on the Unapologetic Geek Show together. Most of the time. Hey, be sure to check out Brain Bender's Banners, Chrissy, baby. You know, BBB, we all love you. Hey, be sure to check out my friend Corey. Corey's comedy channel. He's the only one I know with his own business cards. Yes, it's true. Hey, and the other guys, you know, my flock is everywhere, Sarah, the really best, the best. The best producer on YouTube, as well as the Nostalgic Pod Blast with my friend Chance Ripton and her girl, AAP Homestead, AAP for life. We miss y'all. The Unapologetic Geek Tug, and he's got a new book out called Paradox. You might want to check that out. You can see it over there in the corner. The Life Inside Ending channel and my friend Gypsy Road. And he's back with a new channel that I can never remember the name of because you changed it from Paranormal Highway, the greatest name that ever existed, and now it's Supernatural Crossroads or something, and I can't never remember that, hardly ever. So I guess it's time to get back to the comic book. That's right, back to Full Panels, brought to you by the Daddy Dan blog. Back to Full Panels, the Dennis the Menace, making me want to pluck my eyeballs out and cry like a little bitch. Well, at least my cool dog would probably like this adventure. It's called School is Rough, and it's about Dennis the Menace's cool dog. Dennis the Menace's cool dog who breaks the rope. Dennis the Menace's cool car. Heads for the Vista wagon. You know, they look like they got that station wagon from Chevy Chase after the vacation. Yeah, the cool dog jumps up in the car getting mud everywhere, and then she's like, quit, quit, quit. The dog's like, roof, roof, roof. Dog gets evicted. Too bad, dog. We're off to school and you can't go. Cool dog is upset. He don't understand. Blast forward to the school where the teacher's teaching Dennis the Menace in the class about Mary's little lamb and how it was white and fluffy when a bark breaks out from the side of the room and it looks like Dennis's cool dog has snuck off to school. Dennis gets in a little trouble for his cool dog's activity as the teacher says, I guess the dog will have to stay today, but she's not happy. She has the principal give a call. Give a call! Give a call to Dennis's mom, who isn't happy to hear that the dog's at school. Apparently, they live in a small 1950s town with a party line, and within a few minutes, everybody in town has heard the fact that rough, no! Even Mr. Wilson heard it, you know, Mr. Wilson. Later on, Mr. Wilson moved next door to Tim Allen and never showed his face again. That's right, even Mr. Wilson heard that Rough the dog's on the loose. He goes out to provide assistance. Hello, I will go down and get the dog. So he heads out. Mr. Wilson's going to be a good neighbor. Mr. Wilson's going to collect Rough the dog. Mr. Wilson realizes this days like today is the reason he will stand behind a fence and hide his face for the rest of his life, so the cops will never know. He was the one that had to collect Rough and take it home to Dennis's mom. It turned out to be the biggest headache of his life. He should get used to that. He lives next to Dennis the Menace. I never have had no trust for nobody that drives a big pink Cadillac. That's just not too cool for a little old man, is it? Did you ever think Mr. Wilson and Dennis the Menace's son grew up to be a dentist? Pull some guy's tooth before he crashed on an island and got to be a soccer ball head? Why do I think stuff like that? There's something wrong with me, right? Anyway, the school's all gonna sing a song. Yay, everybody's all happy, but you can't get rid of the dog who escapes again, returns, jumps through the window, tears up the school. Ha, 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 everybody's all happy at the end, and I'm as happy as I can be that this piece of crap is over. Yeah, I truly I'd rather be looking at any comic book on earth than Dennis the Menace. I'm not a fan, but since Jay North passed away, I figured it was the right thing to do to whoop out the Dennis the Menace. Here's your coloring page. Let's get started. That's right, you could have cut. Oh my God! Somebody colored the coloring page. Oh, the agony. You know, this comic book, even though it's from 1958 and the puzzles worked a little bit and some idiot child colored the coloring page, it still might be worth a little bit. It's lucky to exist from 1958, number 32, right? Hey, Dennis the Menace, the storyteller. Dennis the Menace opens a book. Dennis the Menace reads a book. Dennis the Menace is upset that the dog has ate his snacks. Where's my food? The end. Another stupid piece of cheese. And then you get a black and white panels on the back, which is more of them little Dennis the Menace one-liners. I'm not even going to read them. If you want to read them, pause them and read these one-liners, go right ahead. I am truly frustrated. I am truly ill with Dennis the Menace. Dennis the Menace comic books are about as irritating as Dennis the Menace Yep, that's about as irritating as Dennis the Menace, the TV show, or the god-awful Dennis the Menace movie remakes of the 90s and early 2000s that make me want to cry and pull my hair out even more than this comic book. And this is one Dennis the Menace disturbing thing I've ever saw. For $4.98, you could have had the Dennis the Menace little boy doll that was anatomically correct. 14 inches of Dennis the Menace. You put the batteries up his ass and it comes alive at night, chases you around, and 20 years later, they repurposed it and named it Chucky. Oh, God, that's the most disturbing thing I've ever saw in my life. Wow. Let's look at Dennis the Menace. Dennis the Menace, number 32 from 1958. Dennis has a cool dog. Dennis does all kind of cool stuff. Rest in peace, Jay North. Rest in peace. Be sure to check out my friend Eric Miguel, Non-Apologetic Geeks Book Paradox. Be able to check out True Cryptid Encounters by my friend Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And until next time, this is Danny Staten on the Daddy Dan blog, looking at Dennis the Menace and crying about it. We know what time it is now. Blog over.